Malacca goes to the polls after 12 days of campaigning. Workers in Malaysia to see a salary increase in 2022. Hello and welcome. You're watching Updates at Noon with me. I'm Jessica Lee. The Malacca State election voting process started at 8 a.m. today with the opening of 217 polling centres involving 1,109 channels for the people of Malacca to choose a new government. The process involving 476,037 normal voters out of a total of 495,195 registered voters will be managed by a total of 12,290 election officials in all 28 state constituencies until polling ends at 5:30 p.m. Now, according to the Election Commission, as at 11 a.m., the voter turnout were recorded to be at 27%. Now, as the country is still battling the threat of the COVID-19 pandemic, voters have been urged to adhere to SOPs set by practicing physical distancing, wearing a face mask, using hand sanitizer, screening of body temperature, and recording attendance by scanning the My Sejahtera quick response or the QR codes before entering polling stations. Now, those with symptoms or who have a body temperature above 37.5 degrees Celsius will still be allowed to vote in separate tents monitored by health officials and will be arranged to undergo further examination. The Malacca State election sees several firsts, starting from the nomination day on the 8th of November. Malacca made history as the first state to follow in the footsteps of Sabah, which changed its chief minister 3 times after the 14th general election, or GE14, in 2018. Now, in addition, the state for the first time in its history is holding the state elections separately and not simultaneously with federal seats during a general election. For the first time in the nation's history too, with the new norm, public speeches, lectures, physical campaigning, house-to-house visits, walkabouts and leaflet distributions to the public were not allowed. Now, the government's move to allow Radio Television Malaysia, or RTM, to air posters and biodata of candidates contesting in the Malacca polls was well received. Communications and Multimedia Minister Tan Sri Anwar Musa said the move was aimed at giving the candidates an opportunity to introduce themselves, besides helping the people to choose their representatives. Commenting further on the matter, Tan Sri Anwar said RTM is not campaigning for the candidates but giving them an opportunity to introduce themselves and help the people make their decision. He also said that all candidates, including independent candidates, are given the same opportunity unless they did not want to. Prior to this, Tan Sri Anwar was reported to have said that the government had allowed RTM to broadcast posters and biodata of candidates, taking into account the difficulties faced by candidates to campaign, as well as for voters who were not familiar with the candidates. In addition, the minister said he had also informed the cabinet on the positive development of the initiative.
Kita akan buat penilaian lah untuk kegunaan masa akan datang, sejauh mana berkesan dan sebagainya.
Apart from RTM, Tan Sri Anwar said Malacca FM also played its role, while private television stations such as Astro had also been given the opportunity for all contesting parties to have their discourse. Now, a move to extend the assistance provided to traders facing hardships in the Federal Territory in the form of rental exemptions and reductions will be considered. Federal Territories Minister Datuk Sri Shaidan Kassim said the assistance is due to end in December. Elaborating further on the matter, the minister said he would be discussing with Prime Minister Datuk Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob the need to extend the aid. He said at the moment, the ministry is trying to extend the assistance to next year and at the same time decide to what extent the assistance can be considered. Datuk Sri Shahidan also said that considering the federal territories of Kuala Lumpur, Putrajaya and Labuan are now in Phase 4 of the National Recovery Plan, or PPN, the Federal Territories Ministry will provide aid in various forms reforms to rejuvenate the economy. According to him, in Putrajaya alone, a total of 4.78 million ringgit had been channeled in the form of contributions, rental discounts and licensing fee exemptions in 2020 and this year, in a move to ease the burden faced by small traders who were affected by COVID-19 pandemic. The Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, or the MACC, with the cooperation and assistance of international enforcement agencies, has managed to return assets of One Malaysia Development Berhad, or 1MDB, amounting to more than 20 billion ringgit to the Malaysian government. In a statement yesterday, MACC said it was actively seeking to recover 1MDB fund assets in the country and abroad, including in the United States, the United Arab Emirates, UAE, Taiwan and Singapore. Most recently, on the 12th of November, Singapore's Commercial Affairs Department, CAD, has returned the money belonging to former SRC International Sdn Berhad, SRC Chief Executive Officer Nik Faisal Arif Kamil, through the Finance Ministry's Assets Recovery Trust account, totaling more than $800,000. Earlier, the MACC said the Singaporean government had also assisted in the return of assets worth $15.4 million to Malaysia, involving the accounts of Cutting Edge Industries Limited, owned by Datuk Taufik Aiman and Samuel Goh. The statement said that MACC is also in the process of recovering assets from countries such as Switzerland, Kuwait, Mauritius, Cyprus, Hong Kong, involving individuals connected to the 1MDB case. On the 12th of May, the Finance Ministry announced that the U.S. Department of Justice, or DOJ, has remitted some 1.9 billion ringgit in funds related to 1MDB into Malaysia's Asset Recovery Trust account. The government's current recovery efforts are focused on parties who have caused losses to 1MDB and SRC during the execution of their duties, whether through direct or indirect involvement in 1MDB and SRC's various operations and transactions. Employees based in Malaysia are expected to see a real salary increase of 2.8% in 2022, up from a growth of 1.5% this year. According to the latest salary trends report by employee management data and software provider ECA International, Southeast Asian nations, including Malaysia, Indonesia, Vietnam and Thailand, would be among countries expected to see the fastest rate of salary increases next year versus 2021, as their economies recover from the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic and international travel resumes. ECA International Asia Regional Director Lee Kwan said Indonesia and Malaysia were among the countries most impacted by the pandemic and are expected to see some of the biggest jumps in rates of salary growth in Asia Pacific in 2022 as their respective economies start to return to normality. He said if these countries are able to keep inflation under control in 2022, the improved economic outlook will mean that real salary increase rates for workers in these countries will be some of the highest in the region. The report said real salary increases for workers were predicted to average 1.9% across the Asia-Pacific region in 2022. He said this is higher than any other region, with the global real salary increase forecast to just 0.9% on average. The annual salary trends report analyzes current and projected salary increases in more than 70 countries and cities across the world. Next up in sport, Ching Ho denies leaving out promising young players. Now, the first semi-final match of the Malaysia Cup 2021 between Kuala Lumpur KL City FC and Melaka United FC at Kuala Lumpur Football Stadium Cheras on Monday will take place without spectators. Now, it is a punishment to KL City FC following the incident where supporters of the City Boys squad invaded the field immediately after the second quarter-final match between the team and Selangor FC yesterday, which KL City FC won 1-0 to advance to the semi-finals on a 3-0 aggregate. Malaysian Football League MFL Chief Executive Officer Stuart Ramalingam said the incident clearly violated the rules of the Malaysia League or the M-League governing body regarding SOP for admission of spectators for Malaysia Cup matches and Article 4.7.2 of the 2021 M-League manual. He said in a statement that KL City FC, as the host team, were found guilty of violating the 2021 Malaysia Cup spectators admission SOP, which required supporters to practice physical distancing. Stewart said KL City FC also agreed and decided not to sell tickets for the first semi-final. Meanwhile, Terengganu FC or TFC were given a lighter sentence over the incident where their supporters encroached into the field in their Group C match against Selangor FC at the Petaling Jaya City Council Stadium, MBPJ, on the 7th of November. Stewart said the MFL Secretariat found TFC had violated a clause in the competition rules in the M-League manual, which states that the conduct of supporters or spectators must be orderly besides maintaining social distancing. The Kelantan FC Premier League team have appointed former national midfielder Rizal Zamri Yahya as the team's head coach for next season's competition with the mission to qualify for the 2023 Super League. Rizal Zamri was Kelantan FC's assistant head coach before being named to replace Marco Regini as head coach of the Red Warriors on a 3-year contract. Kelantan FC owner Norizam Tukiman says since joining the team last April, Rizal Zamri has shown quality as a coach, apart from having a high level of compatibility with the coaching staff and players.
Maksudnya dalam kontrak itu jelas mungkin dia sebagai dalam tempoh 3 tahun tu bukan saja head coach, mungkin boleh berubah jadi sport director saya ke, mungkin boleh jadi technical director ke atau sebagainya, tapi kontrak untuk bersama dengan tim pengurusan tu kekal.
Meanwhile, Rizal Zamri said the target to qualify for the Super League 2023 is no pressure to him and he's ready to take up the challenge.
Saya amat puas hati dan saya berjanji untuk cuba melakukan yang terbaik untuk pasukan Kelantan FC pada musim yang akan datang. Dan ini satu cabaran baru bagi saya dan saya juga boleh cakap tugasan ini akan saya pikul dengan penuh bertanggungjawab.
National football head coach Tan Cheng Ho has denied allegations by some quarters, especially local fans, that young players with potential did not have a place in his squad. Ahead of the 2020 ASEAN Football Federation or AFF Cup in Singapore, Cheng Ho described the allegations as baseless, as there are several young players in the list of 28 players called up for centralised training starting Monday. He said players like Luqman Hakim Shamsuddin, Muhammad Mukairi Ajmal Mahadi, Quentin Cheng and Muhammad Azri Abdul Ghani have been selected to be a part of the national team. Azri Ghani, who is a Perak FC player, was the main goalkeeper of the under-22 squad under the guidance of head coach Brad Maloney, who secured a slot in the final round of the 2022 Asian Under-23 Cup or U23 from the qualifying round of the tournament in Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia last month. Last Wednesday, the 53-year-old national head coach announced the list of 28 players for the centralised training camp of the Harimau Malaya squad in preparation for the 2020 AFF Cup Championship, which will be held from the 5th of December to the 1st of January next year. Of the 28 players called up, 9 are aged 23 and below, with Luqman Hakim and Mukairi Ajmal aged 19 and 20 years old respectively, being the youngest in the team. At the 2020 AFF Cup, Malaysia, aiming to advance to the final for the second time in a row, will start their Group B campaign against Cambodia, followed by Laos, Vietnam and Indonesia. The top 2 teams will qualify for the semi-finals. And that's it from us this afternoon. Making the headline today, Malacca goes to the polls after 12 days of campaigning. Tune in to News at 10 coming up on My Freeview Seller and Berita RTM, Channel 123. I'm Jessica Lee. Thank you for watching.